Hello FIGGIE fiends and collectors, this is me, Daniel East 1000, back again with a Star Wars Black Series figure review. And well, just to get straight into it, today we're going to be taking a look at the Death Trooper. Night Trooper. We'll get to that in a moment. Nonetheless, as always, we're going to take a look at the packaging, then the figure itself. Of course, you've got Star Wars Black Series at the top there, the window packaging so you can see the figure and the accessories in store. You've also got a lovely backdrop as well, coloured in that blue coloration of the colour banding to really offset that figure quite nicely. Name of the character, number of the character, name of the media, a bit of legalese at the bottom there. You've got Star Wars Black Series just on the side with that colour banding running round. Nothing much really going on there though. On the other side, you've got a lovely bit of artwork of the Night Trooper, this being the Death Trooper variant, looking very, very menacing and creepy. Name of the character at the bottom. On the back, you've got a lovely picture of the character there. Star Wars Black Series, name of the character, bit of a bio, number and name of the media that appears in, as well as a ton of legal garb at the bottom there, and at the bottom there as well. So that is the packaging out the way and done with. Let's now take a look at the figure itself. So here we have the Death Trooper, Night Trooper. It's getting very complex. This is the Death Trooper version of the Night Trooper. We have had Night Troopers before, as you may have seen from my Enoch and Night Trooper figure review. If you haven't, link will be up there for you to check that out. But this is the Death Trooper non-Stormtrooper equivalent. We have had Death Troopers before, just to give you a bit of a comparison to the Rogue One Death Trooper that was released. It has to be said that this new one is quite considerably chunkier, at least in the torso and head and legs department as well, and it is worth noting it's a completely new figure. I still really like the original Death Trooper quite a bit. I'm not too sure if this one is better. There's certainly thoughts on this one in terms of its execution that would have definitely elevated it, but nonetheless, let's get into looking at the head sculpt first and foremost. Now, as you can see, the helmet has a great big crack in it for an obvious reason, because these are effectively zombies. The Night Troopers have been reanimated corpses that the Night Sisters have brought back to life using their magic. This is such a cool look. I'm really pleased that we got a version of this Death Trooper where the helmet's actually cracked so you can actually get a hint of that corpse underneath. That's really rad, really gnarly. I would have really liked it though if they actually picked out some more detail paint-wise on that underneath head sculpt, particularly on the teeth, because it just kind of blurs, at least from a distance, what it's meant to be. When you get close up, you're like, oh yeah, that's a zomble. Can see that now. Yeah, bit of paint application would have really elevated this, at least in the head sculpt department underneath. You can't take the helmet off, they have glued that on, and as such, they've kind of glued it in a way that the helmet's kind of off-centre, almost like he's had that bucket knocked during combat. As you can see though, he's got the green visors, the tactical flashlight on his little helmet there. I love the gold that they've used to cement the helmet and armour indeed back together. You've got the red wrappings and that gold continuing on as well, really solidifying the idea that this is a cobbled together army, extremely broken and making their resources last as much as possible. My second biggest gripe with this figure has to be with the fact that when you look at the back, yeah, you've got the red wrappings, but they've actually sculpted in where the gold would be, and they've just not included that. I think it would have just been really nice if they actually committed including the gold details there, but they just haven't, and as such they've left those blank. Not a big deal because you're going to be looking at this figure from a front-on perspective, not really from behind. I can let that slide a little bit. In terms of the overall look of this guy, he looks absolutely awesome, and something that I really like about the Death Troopers is the fact that they have a very Vader aesthetic to them. If we just bring out the original, some elements of Vader's features in the helmet, particularly on the belt buckle as well, and the legs or lower part of the leg armour, which was always really nice to see when we had these types of troopers introduced into canon, and that translates again equally well on this figure, just with that Night Trooper twist. Now, in terms of the accessories on this figure, this is where it really falls flat for me, and if they included some additional stuff, would have extremely elevated it. The only thing that he comes with is this blaster, and that's fine. But I think what would have really elevated this figure is if they either included a secondary helmet, so it was the full complete helmet that you could interchange with the zombified version, or just a bit of plating, including the rest of the helmet, of which you just stick on to the face that you can remove. That would have been really cool, and again, if you had that extra piece, you could really sort of have it look like it's been knocked off, you know, blue tack it in certain places when you're displaying it and posing it and indeed taking pictures of it. A little bit disappointing that Hasbro missed a beat with that, because then if you had that additional helmet or part, you could really have him in that tactical look and not the zombified version. With this, you're stuck with the zombie version of him. And contrast to that, I think additional hands would have really bolstered this figure massively. There should have been open grip hands, there should have been more zombified sort of shambling finger poses rather than this clenched pose ready for his blaster. Just anything really that could have filled out this packaging would have been a welcome addition, and I think Hasbro really fell flat in terms of that department. Moving on in terms of his articulation though, he has a ball joint in the head, ball joint in the shoulder, ball joint in the elbows, ball joint in the wrist, ball joint in the torso, ball jointed hips, swivels at the tops of the thighs, ball jointed knees, and ball jointed ankles with the rocker joints. A little bit disappointed that he doesn't have the butterfly joints in the shoulders, but I can kind of let that pass a little bit. You can get some really good poses with this guy, you can get him in that shambling look. Overall, I'm a little bit disappointed with him. I think it's a great figure, but just the sheer lack of accessories that could have elevated this. This is really going to depend on your mileage. I'm really pleased that I've picked this one up. However, I'm not really in a rush to pick another one up, which is a shame, because if it came with all the accessories that I've mentioned, this would have made it an immediate second buy in terms of an army builder. The fact it doesn't kind of limits you a little bit to only wanting one. I really do hope we get some more Night Troopers to bolster our ranks, and indeed I think we need more regular Stormtrooper versions. I think this would have definitely been more suited in a multi-figure pack than a standard release. I'm going to be curious to see how well this sells at retail, but overall that's just my thoughts, that's my opinion. I'm curious to hear what you guys think though. Am I on the mark or am I completely off? Sound off in the comments down below. And well, this is me, Daniel East 1000, sign out, and thank you very much for watching.